Breaking news! Something absolutely amazing may be happening behind the scenes in Baltimore, a place so unexpected, so explosive, that it could completely change the identity of the Ravens offense. And the craziest part? It may already be underway. Rumors are circulating, fans are debating, and the future of Lamar Jackson's arsenal could take a dramatic turn. But the real question isn't just what the Ravens can do, it's why they would consider it in the first place. Trust me, you won't want to miss this. But before we dive into it, don't forget to like if you're a true Ravens fan. It's always amazing to see fans of all ages supporting this team. And if you want, comment, "Go Ravens." Let's fill this comment section with that purple pride. Now, let's get into it. With Sunday Night Football right around the corner and all eyes set on the Baltimore Ravens taking on the New England Patriots, the stakes couldn't be higher. But what's getting fans buzzing, and maybe even biting their nails, is the sudden shift in personnel and the domino effect it could have not only on this game but the remainder of the season. First off, the Ravens made a few under-the-radar but impactful moves heading into this showdown. Teddy Buchanan was officially placed on injured reserve. While Buchanan wasn't a starter, the move creates a ripple effect in terms of depth and special teams coordination. In his place, Baltimore elevated linebacker William Kwanku and nose tackle Josh Topol from the practice squad, two names that, if you're a casual fan, you probably haven't thought much about. But that's what makes this team unique. It's the unexpected contributors that often end up making some of the biggest plays. And tonight, with the lights of Sunday Night Football shining bright, they might just be thrust into critical situations. But that's not all. Defensive lineman Brent Urban, one of the team's most consistent rotational players, was a late addition to the injury report due to illness. And when you consider the recent talk about a flu bug sweeping through the Ravens locker room, it raises real concern. John Harbaugh previously acknowledged the bug, but now we're seeing the tangible impact. Urban's status is questionable, and his absence could leave a noticeable gap up front, especially against a Patriots team that's been known to exploit weakened defensive lines. The health concerns don't stop there either. With the playoffs on the horizon, every snap counts, every injury matters, and every misstep could be the difference between a deep postseason run and another early exit. Which brings us to the fan sentiment around this matchup. Confidence is rising, and for some, maybe a little too high. Predictions are flying around, but one bold call stands out like a purple beacon in the night. A 30-17 Ravens win. Convincing, dominant, and a message to the league. But the reason this prediction has people talking isn't just the scoreline. It's the context. This game isn't just about beating the Patriots. It's about making a statement. It's about showing the rest of the league that Baltimore is not only playoff bound but a true Super Bowl threat. And that sentiment comes at a time when the team is watching more than just its own performance. Ravens fans are keeping a close eye on the Steelers versus Lions matchup. With Pittsburgh missing key players, including the relentless TJ Watt, Baltimore fans are openly rooting for the Lions to handle business. Blow them out, that's the hope. Because if the Steelers fall and the Ravens win, it's not just a victory on the scoreboard. It's a massive leap in playoff positioning. Meanwhile, another game from earlier in the week could have ripple effects. Packers QB Jordan Love suffered a concussion and didn't return. His status for next week's matchup, potentially against the Ravens, is uncertain. That adds yet another layer to this late-season drama. Every opponent's injury, every result around the league, shifts the chessboard. And right now, Baltimore's got a strong position, but only if they capitalize. All of this leads us to a deeper conversation about where this team is headed. Some fans are optimistic, others are still holding back. There's still talk, despite how well the team has looked at times, about whether they have what it takes to go deep in the playoffs. Some are still waiting to be convinced. But one thing is clear, this team is evolving. The front office is making adjustments, the coaching staff is experimenting, and fans are starting to see glimpses of something special, even if it's not yet fully realized. And yet, the Ravens' wide receiver situation, a topic that never fails to ignite passionate debate, is once again front and center. While Zay Flowers is technically the WR1, many argue his size limits his ability to be a true number one receiver in this league. He's explosive, dynamic, a playmaker in space. But when it comes to those high-point, contested jump balls, that's just not his game. And that's where the Ravens' offensive design continues to hit a ceiling. There was an eye-opening fan suggestion, one that at first sounded like pure fantasy, but as the situation in Miami evolves, might not be so far-fetched. Could the Ravens actually make a play for Tyreek Hill this offseason? The Dolphins star is rumored to potentially be cut this offseason due to injury and age, and if that happens, he would fit the Ravens' profile of veteran acquisitions almost too perfectly. Older, possibly injured, previously elite, and maybe on a redemption arc? That screams Baltimore. Pairing Tyreek Hill with Zay Flowers would immediately create one of the fastest duos in the league, and more importantly, give Lamar Jackson two elite YAC threats who could stretch the field and break defenses wide open. But here's the kicker, even with that type of electric speed, some fans, and even commentators, are calling for a big-bodied, physical receiver to truly complete the offense. Someone who can go up and get the ball. A DeAndre Hopkins type. And yes, there are names floating around, including George Pickens, but let's be real, a Ravens Steelers trade for a rising star in his prime? That's a pipe dream. Tyreek Hill, on the other hand, maybe not so impossible. But here's the question, would it be enough? Would adding someone like Tyreek Hill actually elevate this offense to a level where they can finally make the leap and get Lamar Jackson to the promised land? And here's where things start to get really interesting. Because while the idea of adding Tyreek Hill might set off fireworks in the fan base, imagine that instant boost in jersey sales, the Madden highlights, the national media attention. It doesn't automatically solve the deeper, more systemic issue Baltimore has battled for years, wide receiver development and usage. Even if the Ravens were to land a superstar like Hill, there's this lingering concern that goes beyond personnel. It's about philosophy. It's about identity. And it all circles back to how this team actually utilizes its weapons. Because having elite talent means nothing if the scheme doesn't adapt to maximize it. We've seen that movie before in Baltimore. Great players put in the wrong roles, or worse, barely used at all. That's the concern many fans raised when talking about young talent like Tylan Wallace and even more recently, Malik Speedy Flowers. We've seen glimpses, flashes of brilliance, but so often those moments are followed by inexplicable absences from the game plan. The word trust comes up a lot in these discussions. Does the coaching staff trust these young guys to produce consistently? Or are they clinging to safer, more predictable options that limit the offensive ceiling? If Tyreek Hill were to walk into this system, how confident can we be that he'd be allowed to cook? We're not talking about just running jet sweeps or drag routes. We're talking about unlocking the deep part of the field, forcing defenses to pick their poison. Tyreek on one side, Zay on the other, Mark Andrews drawing attention in the middle. It sounds like a nightmare for defenses, but only if the coaching staff is willing to go all in. And that brings us to Todd Monken. The offensive coordinator came in with big expectations, touted for his college success and vision for a more balanced, explosive attack. But there's a growing sentiment among fans that Monken might not be the long-term answer. It's not that he's been terrible. At times, the offense has looked sharp. But the inconsistency, the predictability, and the questionable personnel decisions have left many asking, is he holding this team back? If Monken were to leave, whether by choice or by front office decision, that opens another layer to this conversation. Because any acquisition, especially one as high profile and high risk as Tyreek Hill, needs to be paired with a coach who knows how to weaponize him properly. A coach who won't overcomplicate things, who lets Lamar be Lamar, who finally ditches the over-reliance on checkdowns and bubble screens in favor of real, vertical aggression. And let's talk about Lamar for a moment, because this entire conversation, from wide receivers to scheme to postseason expectations, always leads back to him. He's in his prime. He's playing some of the best, most efficient football of his career. And yet, he's still having to do too much. Still carrying too much. Still operating without that reliable, big-framed alpha receiver that so many other elite quarterbacks get handed early in their careers. We've seen the connection between Lamar and Zay Flowers develop. It's real. It's encouraging. But as fans pointed out, there's a clear ceiling there, not because of effort or talent, but because of size. Zay gives his all, no question. He's electric, slippery, and tough. But in the red zone, on third and long, when the ball needs to go up, above the rim, and come down in the hands of a guy who boxes out defenders like it's the NBA, that's just not his game. And it's not fair to ask him to be that guy. So, what now? Do the Ravens continue to build around Zay as their WR1 and just hope for better health and consistency from the rest of the receiving core? Do they roll the dice on a big-name veteran with a possible injury history like Hill and swing for the fences? Or do they finally invest, either through the draft or free agency, in that tall, physical target that fans have been clamoring for since the Joe Flacco days? And then there's the cap space. Tyreek Hill won't come cheap, even if he's released. The Ravens would have to make some tough financial decisions to create room. Who stays? Who goes? Does that sacrifice on defense to bolster the offense make this team better, or does it weaken the unit that has carried them at times this season? This is the type of off-season crossroads that can define a franchise.